mediums are sensitives. They are vulnerable and open to communication from spirits. And depending on their sensitivity, the condition and memories of that spirit may be readily transferred to the medium. And they believe, that is, the medium believes, that these memories and visions are theirs, that they belong to them. But in fact, they belong to the spirit. Spirits may, by design, share these communications and this information and these visions, or may not. But because the medium is open to various communications, then the sharing is done voluntarily or involuntarily. A medium is also open to various other influences and is open to what you describe as the Akashic records. So with their openness, they are able to align themselves with these records and again receive information, visions, and memories that are a part of these records. And so with all of these elements in play with the medium, and if the medium is not particularly discerning or developed in their soul's perceptions, then it is understandable that they would believe that these memories are a part of their life, and a life that they did not lead on earth at present, but a life that they led on earth at times past. So they have experienced these things in a way to such an intensity and clarity that they believe that it is truly a part of them and part of their soul's memories. A collection of chemicals does not have any bearing on the soul or the spirit of the individual upon passing over. It is God's design that these elements and chemicals that created a human being or any life form may return back to the earth. An identical copy of the physical body is retained by the spirit body, which houses the soul. And this body cannot be destroyed, cannot be burnt or sent back to the elements. It is a life force that God has given to each individual soul, and therefore will remain so, and cannot be altered other than by the will and the experiences of the individual who is living on the earth plane or living in the spirit world. The spirit body continues to exist and will exist for a very long time indeed as the individual experiences the spirit world, progressing through the planes of spirit until they arrive at the natural of heaven, which is the sixth sphere, or the celestial heavens, which is beyond the seventh sphere. Ghosts are earthbound spirits that are so attached to the material plane that at times they take on a sort of material form that is described as ghosts. In other words, individuals who live on the earth plane and have material senses can detect, feel, see at times these spirits as they continue to inhabit the material world. Ghosts have not progressed beyond this plane. They are stuck within the material plane. And they are in need of your prayers and possibly your intervention to help them move on. For there is nothing of the material plane that will help them in their progression. They often become fixated on various things, such as an event that was traumatic, or material things that are hidden, such as money or objects of value that they wish to show others whom they know, or the trauma that they carry is so intense that they cannot see or feel anything other than that experience and that condition. Therefore, seeing beyond the material trauma is very difficult for that spirit. And they become very much a part of the earth plane, unable to let go of whatever it is that keeps them there. If the soul has attached to the fetus and therefore is a viable child in utero, and if that child is destroyed in whatever way that destruction happens, then that unformed but very much alive being will enter into the spirit world, into a place called Summerland in the second sphere, and will be nurtured and cared for by those who are engaged in such service. And they will grow into a fully formed child and eventually into an adult in the spirit world. That time of growing and forming into the adult is much quicker than it is in the material plane. And so the individual child becomes a fully formed soul, spirit, in a short time, and can make choices as to their progression during this period of development. It completely depends upon the circumstances. If the individual aborts a child out of malice and hatred and guilt and all human conditions that are dark, and they carry those feelings and thoughts with them until the time comes when they enter into the spirit world, then there needs to be some reconciliation within the individual and possibly within the child that was aborted, so that there is greater harmony. If there is extreme disharmony, then that individual will go to a darker place, a place that suits their condition. It is not a punishment. It is solely the result of the individual, the mother, who has taken on dark conditions and feelings and judgments about herself that have remained unresolved and unhealed. And so there is a possibility that that individual may go to a dark or semi-dark place before they can progress into light. But it is not always the case. If the individual forgives themselves and has made peace with the situation, then they are more likely to enter into a lighter condition. If the individual chooses to end their life prematurely, there are consequences. Now, if that life is ended within a short period of time before death as a merciful way of preempting great pain and difficulties, then there is no harm done. But if the individual commits a sort of suicide through taking their life or through arranging for another to take their life, there are consequences that are difficult and harsh because they have countermanded God's blessing of life and have decided that they do not wish to live a material life. Often these poor individuals are unaware that the conditions that they carry with them upon death are exactly the same as when they were in life in the material sense. Thus, if they are in great pain and turmoil, they will go to a place that reflects these conditions. Much help is offered by brighter spirits when the individual goes to these places. Of course, it is up to them to accept the assistance and to learn how they may evolve out of these conditions. But those who are dying and in great physical distress and have had their life prematurely ended, but not to a great degree, are not in danger of suffering as a consequence of their choice, nor is the individual who administers whatever remedy given is in danger. Both are engaged in an act of compassion, and both are indeed in harmony with the laws of God. No, there is no fire and brimstone in hell. This is a dramatic description created many, many years ago in order to scare those who are dedicated to various religions, especially that of Catholicism and Protestantism, to encourage them to dedicate themselves to the religious order that they subscribe to. Hell is not a hot and searing place. Hell is a very cold place. Cold in emotion. Cold in temperature. It is dark, foreboding. It is filled with sensations and senses that are repulsive and repugnant Hell is the creation of dark souls who do not know any better and are in this condition themselves. So the place in which they inhabit is a reflection of their condition, their thoughts, their actions, actions of the past, actions of the present. And so they feed these conditions through their thoughts and actions in this place. And it is a place that if individuals knew of and had a moment of experiencing it, they would be more worried and frightened than the thoughts of hell in brimstone and fire. For this horrible place, the darkest of hells, is a place that makes earth look like heaven, no matter how much suffering the individual might have on the earth plane. There are gradients of hell. Some are lighter. Some have a measure of light. But as the Master says, all levels of spirit are hells compared to the heavens of the celestial kingdom. But they are gradients and levels and conditions reflecting the condition of the individual. These things are not required unless the individual does these things in excess, like any consumption. If it is done in excess, if it is fixated upon, if it becomes an addiction, then of course it will affect the condition of the individual adversely. But all things done in moderation do not require abstinence. They require wisdom, and they require an attitude of love and peace when in the act of consuming these substances. Every action has its spiritual consequence. An action done in love is an action that brings light and a benefit to the individual. An action done that uses another individual for their own pleasure and gratification will not bring light and harmony. It will bring the opposite. So those who engage in sexual activity and do so in a selfish, self-concerned, and unloving way may enjoy the pleasure derived from it, but will suffer the consequences spiritually of that act. All sins are forgivable in God's world, in God's creation. Forgiveness comes with the individual once they have the realization of the sin that they committed, of the disharmony and consequences of their sin, their actions, their thoughts. And so it is the individual who forgives themselves that is required. Some are stuck within an unforgiving condition that they have created. And so the process of forgiveness may take a very, very long time, possibly even thousands of your earth years, before they are liberated and realize that they are forgiven within themselves. And so forgiveness comes on the heels of the individual's capacity and ability to self-forgive. But there are no unpardonable sins. There are sins that bring harsh consequences. There are sins that bring a moderate form of consequence. And there are sins that can be dispelled readily through prayer, and especially in receiving the blessing of divine love within the soul. When one receives divine love within the soul, it ignites a series of openings, of perceptions, of gifts within the soul that facilitate forgiveness more readily than those who go through the step-by-step process of raking through the coals of their life on earth and even their life in the spirit world, and forgiving themselves for every action, every part, every aspect of their life portrayed and remembered within them. It is a formidable task, and one that can take a very long time indeed. And so there are two ways to garner forgiveness: the way of the mind and the spirit, who walks upon the path of the natural man, and the way of the divine that walks upon the divine path, receiving the great gift of God's love, which brings as a blessing forgiveness and healing. This is a difficult question to answer in your day and age. It is a day and age of excesses. Excessive consumption, excessive material desires, excessive efforts in the material plane to reinforce your reality, your material thinking. And so to say it is acceptable to have money, in your world, money is necessary, so it is acceptable to utilize the coin of the realm, so to speak. But how that is utilized, does it bring harmony, or does it continue to feed the desires and the excess within the material individual, so that they are out of harmony with God? If this is the case, then they are indeed counterproductive in their spiritual journey. But if your resources are used for good, for yourself, for others, in the way of service, in the way of generosity, in the way of creating a harmonious life for yourself, then indeed there is no reason for condemnation or to suffer the consequences within. The actual plant and smoke that is derived from the plant opens a portal, a door, for spirit to utilize this expression of God's creation to help cleanse and bring some light to a particular situation or individual. But it does require the active energies and blessings of those spirits in order to transform and utilize these energies, these conditions in order to bring the blessings forward. The act of saging in itself has no real benefit without this interaction. There are many layers to this answer. God gave His creation to humanity to utilize as it will. And humanity, being a creative force in the world, finds ways and means of utilizing these plants and other things for their benefit. If these things are utilized in an environment that is safe and guided and protected, and done so in a moderate way, there can be benefits. Unfortunately, many who are engaged in these things are not so spiritually attuned or adept or progressed that they may guide and protect the individual in question. So there can be great harm and there can be great danger. So it is a difficult question to answer. Ideally, the individual does not require such assistance. Ideally, the individual can receive and experience tremendous and powerful visions and experiences that are of the soul and are of God. This is the highest and purest form of experience of the soul. And this is encouraged. And indeed, we come to help the individuals to come to that place so that they may have a deep experience that will increase their faith and understanding and realization of who and what they are as a soul, who and what they can experience as a soul. But many are eager to try a quick method, something that bypasses the work and efforts required to reach those places of understanding. And so these individuals often are not aware of the danger that they may be in, or will often have an experience that is negative and harmful and hurtful and very disorienting. Some suffer from great mental anguish afterwards and great mental distortions. And it takes a great deal of effort to right this imbalance and difficulty. So I do not recommend the easy road. There may be a time in humanity's future where these substances are used for the benefit and health of the individual. But at the moment, what we see is an abuse of something that God has created, and it is harmful often, and will not bring the results that are permanent. Rather, they are temporary because they often create conditions within the mind that are a distortion and are not practical in terms of spiritual progression. If you mean the new world, although I would not use the word order beside it, because this indicates that there is some governing body, some great body that will control and create this new world. The world that is coming is a world that God will bring about, that angels, bright spirits, and bright and beautiful mortals, and the individuals who wish for change and will be affected and inspired within them, so that change may occur. These are the individuals that will bring the new world. And this will come in stages. It is already unfolding now. And there are material changes that you are noticing. There are even spiritual changes that are coming and have come about. Indeed, a great shift in consciousness, in awareness, in soul awakening, in perception, in attitude, in priorities, is coming to humanity. And these things will come because humanity has desired it, and they will also come because the conditions that are changing within the world will insist upon them. So there are many forces at work, many layers of energetic influences, as you would call them, that are coming into play and working on each and every soul that inhabit the planet, and those souls in the earth planes that are seeking. And they are benefiting simultaneously from all that is taking place at this time. But the center of these changes begins with the earth plane and moves out towards the darker planes below the earth plane and the lighter planes above the earth plane. So many, many spirits and souls are being affected and will desire to be in harmony, in that place of peace, in that place of light. And they will have the opportunity to perceive these things and understand these things, and to make the choice between the journey of the natural man and the journey of the divine love. This is ultimately the goal, that choice will be made clearly, understood clearly, and this choice will be honored and will dictate the journey that mankind will take in the future. Yes, some who are willing and open shall indeed have these experiences and these perceptions. There will always be those who resist and will not open and will resist change. These are the individuals who will not enter into this new world, but will most likely live out their lives in the darkness in which they prefer and the conditions in which they prefer. But because of the dichotomy of this new world overlaying the old world, the conditions of the old world will be such that these resistant individuals will find it very difficult to survive in these conditions, and will more than likely enter into the spirit world quickly, and so they will not influence the new world, and they will not be a part of the new world. But those who are open, those who are receptive, those who are able to understand and comprehend the laws of creation will enter into a condition, a place, a new world that is much more in harmony with their true spiritual selves and in harmony with a somewhat altered physical self that will come about because of these changes and because of the influences and blessings that are coming now. There will be many forces in play during this time. You have prayed for and you are interested in direct voice, where spirits materialize, high spirits materialize. This will happen during this time and happen quite often. There are those from other planets who will come and be a part and show themselves to humanity. There will be gifted individuals who will open and have revelations and will share these things. And there will be those who within their heart know that the changes and what will happen in the future are acceptable, and they will embrace it wholeheartedly. There will be many opportunities to be taught and open to understand what is happening and why it is happening. The numbers who are resistant will not be as many as you might think, but there is a transition time, a time where those who are ignorant will catch up, will come to know, will honor the truth that is given, and will accept these things. It will not happen in one moment or one day or 1 week, but will take time to be established, and there will be an integration and an acceptance of many who will witness revelations, witness within themselves great changes, witness and understand their deeper selves. When a celestial spirit comes to a medium, they bring their love to them. And that love is a reflection of divine love. It is divine love. So when the medium feels that unique quality of love that is divine love, then this is an indication that it is a celestial spirit that is coming to make rapport with the individual. There are also bright spirits who have a substantial amount of divine love within their soul, but have not yet reached the celestial kingdom. But they too carry this signature, this blessing of love. And so each medium must put the spirit through their paces, so to speak, must feel comfortable with that spirit, must come to know and recognize what divine love feels like. There is no other real proof. Many psychics will see spirits, and there are spirits who can pretend to be certain individuals, such as Jesus. But is that love, that condition of love, present? It is not natural love. And often these spirits possess a measure of natural love. It is divine love that will prove the existence of that spirit as a celestial being and one that can be trusted. Seek for the highest. Seek for the awakening of your soul. And that awakening can only come with the inflowing of God's love, given repeatedly through prayer. If you are willing to follow this road, to come to this realization, to practice this truth, then you will come to know the answers to these questions that are proffered to me in your own way, in ways that you truly understand and will absorb within your consciousness. We may speak these words that are indicative of truth, but our wish is that you ask these questions within yourself, that you come to the answers within yourself. As you continue to grow in divine love, the answers come. God will give them to you. Your soul will receive them and will bring them forward to your consciousness. There is much knowledge to be had, many things, many blessings to be given. So it is for you, beloved souls, to seek truth, to find the answers, to be in harmony with the truth that is of your soul in relationship with God's great soul. May the blessings of God's love be upon you, my beloveds. May you know truth and peace. May you experience the love of God, and in that experience express the love of God in all the ways and beauty and wonders that are of His grace upon you. God bless you all, and thank you.